Okay, so can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Can hear you.
We're supposed to have ended, but I just wanted us to use 15 minutes and wrap up this exploration because it's not a very long one. Okay, so like I was saying before we stopped, when we look at the class of the height variable in the Star Wars dataset, it told us it's an integer. And like I said, R has two types of numerical variables. One of them is integer, one of them is double. The difference between integer and double is the double has decimal places. If you look at the data set, Star Wars, you can see height does not have decimal places. You can see 172, 67, 96. So when the numerical variable is a whole number, R calls it integer as the class. However, when there is a decimal place in the numerical variable, R calls it double. So let's look at that here. So if we say class and we do Star Wars and we put a $sign and then we choose mass, which has decimal place in it, and we run that command, Control Enter, you can see it writes it's numeric. So let me show us where I mean that's double thing. So if we use the function glimpse just gives us a summary structure of the data set. So if I put Star Wars in here and I click Control Enter, you can see in the console, let me zoom into quadrant 2. So I click Control Shift 2. So this is the code that we typed, glimpse, and then we put in brackets our data set, which is Star Wars. So first of all, it tells us that the number of rows are 87, the number of columns are 14, and then it lists the variable names here for us: name, height, mass, hair color, etc., etc. And then you can see this next line, this next column here, lists the class of the variable for us. So it says name is a character variable, height is an integer, which is also a numerical variable, mass is a double. So this is that double I was telling us about, DBL. So both height and mass are numerical variables, but because mass has decimal places in its values, R calls it double, which is DBL in short form. But for those that have whole numbers as their values in the numerical variable, R calls it an integer. But both of them are numerical variables. So that's what I wanted to show us. So let's go back to our 4 quadrants. Okay, so let's see what summary does. So okay, let's see structure. Structure is similar to glimpse. Structure, and then we put Star Wars. Control Enter. So let's go to the beginning and see what structure does. Quite much. Okay, so this is glimpse. So let's see structure. Okay, so this is structure. So str in brackets Star Wars. So the same thing, it tells us is it a table, which means a data frame with 87 rows and 14 columns or variables. And then it also lists the variable names for us. And then in the next column, it also tells us about the class of each variable. You can see height is an integer here. Mass, structure calls it numerical, but glimpse calls it double. But they are all both numerical variables. And then it lists the values within each of those variables here. So that's what structure does. So let's look at scheme. Scheme is also a similar thing. Control Enter. Okay, so if you look at the what's it called now? The console, it says error in scheme in this code. It says could not find the function scheme. So probably we have not loaded the package that contains this scheme as a function. And that package, let's use the help. So question mark and then scheme. So let's see what R tells us here. No documentation. Okay. It says we should use 2 question marks. So we run this. So if we look at the help, let me minimize this. If you look at the help here, it shows us scheme. It's within scheme R package. So let's click here and see what it gives us. Scheme R. So this scheme is supposed to be in the package called scheme R. So we can just load it. So we can do pacman :p underscore load, and then put in brackets scheme R. And then we can just load this. So it loads this package for us, which contains this scheme Star Wars. So if we run this code again, this scheme again, it should run now. Control C. So you can see it has run the code, because we have, at first we didn't have this package scheme R installed, but once I installed it with this code, I now run the code and it has given us the answer here. So you can see here, this is the code scheme in brackets Star Wars. So scheme gives us a more better summary of the data set. So it tells us number of rows is, so first of all, the name of the data set is Star Wars, number of rows 87, number of columns 14, and then it now goes ahead to tell us the different classes of data of the variables here. It tells us there are 8 character variables, there are 3 list variables, and there are 3 numerical variables. And then it takes each class and gives us a summary of the variables in it. So these are the character variables. Says name, hair color, skin color, eye color, sex, gender, home, what species are all character variables within this Star Wars data set. It tells us if there are missing values within there. So for name, there's no missing value. For hair color, there are 5 missing values. So like that. So from this missing value, it calculates the complete rate. So if there are no missing values, it means the data is complete. So it gives it a 1. If there are missing values, it calculates the number of missing values all over the total number of values that are supposed to be in that variable, and gives us the value here as complete. Then the third row is minimum. So it tells us what's the minimum value in that variable. It also tells us what's the maximum value in that variable. It tells us empty, unique. So this n unique says what are the number of unique values. So for example, name, each person has a name. So there are 87 unique names in that variable. For number 2, hair color, it says there are only 12 unique. So there are 12 types of hair colors that are within that hair color variable. So that's what this unique n unique is. So it goes ahead and does this summary for each class of variables. So we've done the character variables. Now we see the list variables. After that, we also see the numerical variables. Now for the numerical variables, it calculates the statistics for us. So apart from the missing and complete rate, it tells us the mean or the average of that variable. It tells us the standard deviation. It tells us P0 is like the minimum value. P25 is the first quartile. P50 is the median. P75 is the third or the 75th percentile or the third quartile. And then P100 is the maximum value. So it gives us a summary statistics of each of the numerical variables, height, mass, and birth year within the Star Wars dataset. And then it also gives us a graphical representation of each of these. So this is the histogram representing the height. This one represents mass. This one represents birth year. So that's what scheme does. It gives us a summary. So GLIMS, structure, and scheme all give us summaries of the data set, but in their own unique ways. So let's look at head. If we use head Star Wars, like I said, it gives us the list of the first 6 observations. So Control Enter. So you can see this is the code, head Star Wars. It also tells us these are the variables, name, height, mass, etc. But it only gives us the first 6 variables. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excuse me. And that's all it gives us. So the first 6 observations, sorry, not variables, the first 6 rows of that data set. And the counterpart, tail, gives us the last 6. So we do tail Star Wars, and we run this. So you can see this is the code tail Star Wars. It gives us this is the last 6 observations within the Star Wars dataset. And we've seen view. View just gives us a tabular representation of this. So these are some of the common things, the common functions we use to explore data. And you can see all what we've done so far is just to understand the context, the boundaries, the dimension, and the summary of our data sets. That's all what we do in data exploration. So yeah, so that's basically it. So that's just a roundup of data exploration. So what I want you to do is all that we have done today. Once you get the videos, look at them and try and replicate whatever thing you've seen me do here. Replicate that on your system. Replicate that on your system and get to familiarize yourself with everything that we have done so far. We'll continue tomorrow at 3 o'clock for the next session of this training. Is there any questions or comments or observations before we end this session? Hello, anyone can hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, so do you have any questions, comments, observations before we call it a day? Sorry, Solomon, can you be more audible? Can't really hear you.
I said from my end, there's no questions so far. But I still have to go through the video.
Yeah, sure.
Most especially the exploration. You know, there are a lot of things to unpack from the exploration.
Yeah,
because, all the components of the exploration, you know, loading them and then running them, you know, a lot of things come out. So one will have to sit down and then carefully, you know, go through them on our individual R platforms, and then
exactly. You're completely and absolutely right. Yeah, which is what I want us to do. As soon as you get the videos, try and replicate all the things we've done here. And if there's anything you don't understand, like I said, you can always use the question mark to get help. Okay. Any other observation, question, comments?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay, Lydia, thank you. Abubakar, any comment from you?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Prof, any comment from you? Hello, is Prof there? Hello, Prof. Misano, are you there?
No, it's like he's not.
Okay, he's not here. Okay, okay,
He's not here because he's not appearing. Yes.
okay. He just appeared actually.
Okay, yeah, he just came on now.
Okay, Prof, we're asking, do you have any comments? Prof, we're just asking if you have any comments, observations.
Aha. Yes, yes, my network just got back. Just to thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And say that,
Oh,
yes,
your voice is breaking.
please keep me better. Thanks. Network.
Yeah, network. Your voice was breaking as you were. Okay, thank you, everyone. We can't really hear Prof very much because of the network. So I'll try and
There's improvement in the delivery.
Okay. Yeah, Prof is saying there's quite a remarkable improvement in the delivery of the training. Thank you so much, Prof, for that comment. Professor Misano was part of our last batch in October, and most of what we were saying were like Greek to him. But being part of this one now, he has seen a remarkable improvement in the delivery of the training. And thank you, Prof, for your comments during the last training, which has helped us to reformat the training and bring out a better delivery method. I'll send you the videos as soon as I can, most likely today, so that you can start doing some work, and then we'll meet tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
One more question before we go.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, what's the difference between a new program, and a script?
A new program? I don't understand what you mean by a new program.
As in, because first we're supposed to, before you start working, you have to create a program, right?
You mean a project?
A project, sorry, a project.
Okay.
You have to create a project. And
So
then after
project,
that,
a project contains scripts.
Okay.
If that answers your question. A project,
yes, it does.
is the entire thing. Then within a project, you can, for example, if you can see my screen, the project is here, is this
Yes.
Good. And then this November batch training is a script in this project. This 2022 is another script within. So there can be different scripts in a project.
Okay,
a script is a collection of codes. That's what a script is. A collection, like all these codes. So a script is a collection of codes. Then when you can have different scripts in a project, but it's not only scripts they have in a project. In a project, you can also have different outputs. There can be Word documents that you've saved from your work that is stored in your project. There can be pictorial representations of graphs that you've gotten from your work that is stored in the project. So the project is like the entire thing, while a script is just a component of the project.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay. So thank you, everyone, for your time. I know it's a sacrifice to give out your weekend for a training like this, but if we look at the ultimate aim of the training, it will make us better in the long run. So thank you very much for your time, for your effort, for your sacrifice, and for this to be mutually beneficial for all of us. please, I beg of you, practice, practice, practice. If you don't practice, honestly, it will just be like you poured water in a basket and it just flows out. So whatever we've done today, go back, replicate them on your system, get familiarized with them, and then like that, we can build on other things. If you have, sorry, say that again.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So let me not take any additional time. We've taken so much time. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 3.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank
We're
you.
grateful.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, sir.
Mm.